Before we start, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It happened just as I was handing a cold beer to Madison's coworker, Brent. The sun was low, string lights flickering on above the backyard. Burgers sizzled on the grill. Someone put on a country playlist. I was laughing, relaxed, until I heard her voice float up behind me, sharp and honeyed. "I mean, come on," Madison said, raising her glass toward the group like she was delivering a toast. "He tries to flirt when he wants something, like a golden retriever rolling over." I just pat his head and remind him, no treat till he behaves. The laughter that followed was instant. Loud, crude, and somehow, it was mostly the women. Even Brent laughed, just once, before glancing at me awkwardly. I turned toward her, slowly. Madison stood near the fire pit in that summer dress she always wore when she wanted compliments, surrounded by her crew. Melanie, her best friend since college, and a couple of couples from her office. She looked triumphant, like she'd nailed the joke. I walked up behind her and said quietly but clear enough for the circle to hear, "So that's how you see me now?" Madison turned, that smirk still glued to her face. "It's a joke, babe. Lighten up." "No," I said louder this time. "It's not a joke. It's control, wrapped up in a wine-soaked punchline." The air shifted. People stopped mid-laugh. Melanie's smile twitched. Someone took a step back. Madison tilted her head, trying to keep her voice low, but her eyes flicked toward the audience. "Tyler, don't do this here. You're embarrassing yourself." "I'm embarrassing myself?" I repeated. "Or did I just ruin your little moment? You love this, don't you? Making me your pet in front of people so you can feel big." Her face stiffened. "You're overreacting. Seriously." I nodded once. "That's what you always say when I finally push back. Overreacting. Sensitive. Needy. You humiliate me with a smile and expect me to laugh along." Brent cleared his throat and turned away. Melanie opened her mouth like she wanted to jump in, but didn't. No one did. Not a soul came to her defense. Madison's face was burning red now. "This is ridiculous." "I bet it is, for someone who's used to getting the last word." She stepped forward, jaw clenched. "You're going to ruin the night over a joke? In front of everyone?" "No," I said, steady. "You did. And for the record, I'm done being the punchline in your marriage material." Silence. I didn't need a mic drop. I didn't need to storm off. I just looked her in the eyes, waited for one, just one, sign of regret, but all I got was panic tucked beneath her pride. So I turned my back to the firelight and walked inside. Let them feel the awkward. Let her stand in it. Inside the kitchen, the air was cooler. The music muffled. I leaned against the counter, heart thudding. Not from rage, but something harder to name. Let me back up a minute. I'm Tyler Briggs, Charleston native. Been building houses here for almost 15 years, mostly high-end family homes along the coast. I work with my hands. I tell the truth. And I've spent the last decade thinking love meant letting little things slide. But this wasn't little. Because when your wife jokes about training, you like a dog in front of people who used to respect you. That's not a joke. That's erosion. And today, something cracked deep in the foundation. It was just past 11 when the guests left. Empty glasses clinked in the sink. The echo of forced laughter still clung to the walls. I had already changed into a faded black t-shirt and was stacking dishes when I heard her heels clicking behind me. Madison didn't say anything at first. She just stood there, watching me like a cat sizing up its prey. Then I heard the shift in her voice, that sweet, syrupy version she used when she wanted something. Look at you," she purred, running a fingertip down my shoulder. "So intense earlier. Hot, actually." I kept wiping down the counter. Don't what?" she asked, looping her arms around my waist. "Don't call you hot? You know I like that edge in you." I peeled her hands off me, calmly. "I'm not playing, Madison." She chuckled under her breath and leaned against the fridge, one leg crossed over the other. "You're still mad? Babe, you made your point. You embarrassed me in front of everyone. Congratulations." "I didn't embarrass you. I answered you." I grabbed another glass, rinsed it. "Something you don't usually let me do." "Oh, come on," she said, rolling her eyes. "You're acting like I insulted your mother." It was a joke. Everyone knew it. I turned to face her, water still running behind me. Everyone also knew it wasn't the first time. That landed. I watched it hit. Her smile faltered, just for a moment, before she smoothed it over with a shrug. Madison pushed off the fridge and crossed the space between us, slipping her hands under the hem of my shirt, fingers gliding along my stomach. How about we stop talking and let me make it up to you? Her lips grazed my neck. Slow. Practiced. I didn't move. Madison. She kissed my jaw. You're always so serious lately. I kinda miss when you were easy to twist around my finger. I stepped back and let her hands fall. Her voice dropped, a whisper meant to sound dangerous. You sure you want to play this game with me, Ty? I'm not playing at all. I looked her square in the eye. That's the difference. She laughed, too loud, too brittle. So what, you're gonna sulk now? Punish me by acting like some monk in your own house. I crossed my arms. You think this is about withholding? About games? No, Madison. It's about clarity. I'm finally seeing things for what they are. She tilted her head, the smile gone now. And what do you think you're seeing? You, I said. Not the girl I married, but the woman who's standing in front of me now, measuring every move like it's a negotiation. That stung. Her eyes narrowed. You're really serious. I nodded. More than I've ever been. She turned away, rubbing her arm like she needed a second to regroup. You think you're gonna find some innocent little step-forward wife who just claps when you walk in the door? This isn't about finding someone else, I said. It's about reclaiming the part of me I lost trying to keep up with you. She stood in silence, staring at the sink. The flirtation had drained completely now, and in its place, something raw flickered, uncertainty. Then she turned, arms crossed, and whispered the line that changed everything. I don't do proposals twice. I stared at her, heartbeat loud in my ears. What's that supposed to mean? She blinked, like she hadn't meant to say it out loud. Then she stiffened. It means what it sounds like. I took a step closer. So this, our marriage, is still some test to pass? And you're the prize? Her voice cracked slightly. That's not what I meant. You sure? I asked quietly. Because from where I'm standing, it sounds like you just admitted this whole thing's been a power trip. Her lips parted like she was ready to spit something back. But no words came. Instead, she dropped her arms, backed up a step, and for the first time in years, she looked scared. Tyler, she said, voice barely above a whisper. What are you trying to say? I'm saying I'm done being managed, I replied. I'm not here to earn affection like a dog waiting for scraps. I want a partner, not a referee. She folded her arms tighter. You've never talked like this before. That's because I've never felt like this before, I said. But tonight, something in me broke. And I'm not taping it back together just so we can smile at barbecues. The silence stretched. Madison stood there, barefoot now, mascara barely smudged from earlier laughter. But her posture was different, guarded, unsure. Not the woman who always had a snide comeback ready. I grabbed a towel, dried my hands slowly. She opened her mouth once more. Ty, what are we doing? I looked at her one last time before turning off the kitchen light. I don't know anymore, Madison. That's what scares me. And I walked past her, the soft floor creaking beneath my steps, leaving her in the half-lit kitchen, arms folded, lips pressed, staring at a version of me she hadn't planned for. 3 days passed. The house had returned to its quiet rhythm, but something in the air felt uneven. I was tying my shoes near the front door when Madison appeared, leaning against the staircase column like she'd been rehearsing the moment. She wore that soft blue blouse I'd once told her looked perfect on her. Her voice came light, casual. Hey, there's a wine tasting Thursday night. That little vineyard up near John's Island. I made a reservation. Just us. I didn't look up. I've got the gym. She blinked, surprised. Since when do you skip a night out for bicep curls? I tied the final loop and stood, grabbing my water bottle. Since I decided it mattered. Her laugh came too quick, too sharp. Wow, midlife crisis already? I met her eyes, if that's what you need to call it. She tilted her head, trying to find the right tone. Tyler, come on. It's one night. You used to jump at the chance to get a little wine drunk with me. I stepped into my sneakers, straightened up. I used to do a lot of things. Doesn't mean they were good for me. A silence settled between us. The kind that buzzes beneath your skin. Her smile faltered just slightly, and her arms crossed, defensive now. She leaned on one hip. Is this really about the gym? Or is it about punishing me? No, I said simply, reaching for my keys. It's about choosing myself for once. She scoffed, but it didn't land. Right? Well, enjoy the protein shakes and posturing. I opened the door. The late afternoon breeze swept in, cool and bracing. Have a good night, I said without looking back. Then the door closed. And for the first time in years, I didn't wonder if she was standing there waiting for me to turn around. I already knew she was. Inside, Madison stayed frozen in the hallway, one hand resting on the banister. Her mouth tightened. She glanced toward the door, like she half expected it to open again. But it didn't. The echo of my footsteps had long faded, and the hallway suddenly felt colder than usual. Quieter. The space between our words stretched longer these days, and for the first time, it wasn't because I didn't know what to say. It was because I'd stopped needing her permission to speak. And somewhere in that quiet, she felt it. Not anger. Not punishment. Loss. It didn't happen all at once. Like most real changes, it crept in quietly, set after set, breath after breath. The gym became more than a place to work out. It was where I remembered what it felt like to build something again. Not just muscle. Focus. Discipline. Stillness and motion. I started going every other day, then almost daily. The place was upscale, full of polished mirrors and the soft thud of treadmills. Not the kind of gym where guys yelled during deadlifts. More like sleek locker rooms, eucalyptus towels, and quiet conversations over green smoothies. That's where I met her. "Watch your six," she said one evening as I nearly backed into a stability ball while stretching. I turned around, startled, and found her smiling. Bright green eyes, hair pulled up in a messy red knot, sweat glistening on her forehead. She looked like someone who didn't take herself too seriously, which was rare in a place where everyone wore matching sets and took selfies mid-set. "I think that ball attacked me first," I said with a straight face. She grinned. "You should probably file a report. It's been stalking people since Monday." "Gym equipment's gotten bold," I said. "Last week a rogue kettlebell nearly ended me." That made her laugh. And not the polite kind. It was real. "Qley," she said, offering her hand. "Unpaid comic relief around here." "Tyler," I replied. "Resident introvert who doesn't usually talk at the gym." "Well then, I'm honored," she said, still smiling. That became the pattern. We'd cross paths during post-workout stretches or grabbing water. The banter stayed light, clean. Nothing crossed a line, but something about her made it easy to talk. She never pried, never flirted overtly. She just listened and threw back witty comebacks that always hit their mark. Back home, though, something was shifting. Madison started noticing. She didn't say anything at first, but I saw it in the way her eyes lingered just a second longer than usual when I walked in from a workout. "You're really committing to this gym thing," she said one night at dinner, eyeing my still damp hair. I shrugged. "Feels good." She didn't answer right away. Just reached for her wine glass, swirled it twice, and took a sip. "You smell like eucalyptus," she finally said, her tone light, but her eyes sharp. "Part of the experience," I said. "Upscale sweat." She forced a laugh. "I remember when your post-workout scent was lawn clippings and cheap detergent." I gave a polite smile, then cut into my chicken. We ate in silence for a bit, but I could feel her watching me. Not with affection, not even with irritation. It was something else. Curiosity. Almost like she was trying to spot the difference. Comparing the Tyler who once scrambled to please her with the one who now left for the gym without asking permission. Later that night, as I pulled off my shirt to toss it in the hamper, I saw her glance up from the bed. She didn't speak. She just looked. And for a moment, I felt the weight of it, that unspoken awareness. She didn't know who Qley was. She didn't need to. She could feel the space widening between us. And she could tell. It wasn't empty anymore. It was a Thursday evening. I'd just gotten back from the gym, still drying sweat from my neck when I dropped onto the couch with a protein shake and the game on low. I'd barely kicked my shoes off when I heard it. The sharp rhythm of her heels across the hardwood, faster than usual. She entered the living room like a storm front, gripping her phone like it was evidence. "Look what I found," Madison said, eyes shining, not with excitement, but with something colder. Satisfaction, maybe. I sat up slightly. "Okay." She flipped the phone toward me and hit play. It was a short video. One of those casual gym reels people post to their stories. Someone had filmed a wide shot of the stretching area. The camera panned across a few regulars, then landed for a beat too long on me. I was leaning against the wall, arms crossed, talking to Qley. Qley said something, then laughed. I nodded. She nudged my shoulder with her elbow, and we both cracked up at something I couldn't even remember now. The camera cut off. Madison tilted her head, lips pursed in fake innocence. "So, that looked like just conversation to you?" I didn't even blink. "Yeah, it does." She arched a brow. You think it's normal for some woman to touch your arm and giggle like you're the funniest guy in the building? I looked at the screen again. She elbowed me. Madison. We were laughing. You ever seen two people laugh before? She scoffed, pacing now. Oh, please. You think I'm stupid? No, I said. I think you're grasping. That stopped her cold. Her shoulders squared. Excuse me. You're trying to twist something harmless into something else because you can feel it. That control you used to have? It's slipping. And that scares you. Her face tightened. You're delusional. I just think it's inappropriate. That's all. And yet, here you are, I said, nodding toward the video. Digging through gym reels like a jealous teenager. She didn't respond. Her fingers curled tighter around her phone. She turned the screen off like it had betrayed her. I leaned back. For what it's worth, I didn't even know that video existed. But yeah, Qley's funny. Smart. She listens when people talk. Madison's mouth dropped open slightly. You're really saying that to me? In this house? I'm stating a fact, I said calmly. We talk. That's it. But you're not mad because she touched my arm, Madison. You're mad because she laughs at things you stopped listening to. The room went dead quiet. She stood there, lips parted, face slowly draining of color. Not from shock, but from the realization that I wasn't flinching. I wasn't apologizing. I wasn't chasing her approval anymore. Madison finally sat on the edge of the armrest, looking down at the floor. She flirts with you, she said, quieter now. I can tell. I shrugged. Maybe. Maybe not. Doesn't really matter. I know where the line is. She looked up sharply. Do you? I do, I said, locking eyes with her. Do you? She opened her mouth to argue, but stopped. The silence stretched so long the buzz from the refrigerator in the next room started to fill the space between us. I sipped my shake and turned my attention back to the TV. Madison stood and left the room without another word. And that silence? It was heavier than any yelling match we'd ever had. It followed us through the rest of the evening. Into dinner, where she barely touched her food. Into bed, where she turned away from me before I'd even shut the lamp off. But there was no going back now. Whatever invisible thread she used to pull on to get her way, it wasn't tethered to me anymore. She could feel it. And so could I. It was a Saturday morning, the gym's busiest hour. I liked it that way. The noise, the motion, the routine. I was halfway through my set, focused, breath measured, sweat dripping off my brow in quiet satisfaction. Then I saw her. Madison. Wearing high-end gym gear she'd never once shown interest in before. Hair up in a flawless ponytail. Makeup at a gym. She stepped onto the floor like she owned it, scanning the room until her eyes landed on me. I froze, barbell still in my hands. She smiled, tight, controlled, then walked right over and sat on the bench press 2 rows from mine. She didn't wave, didn't speak, just waited. 10 minutes passed. I kept my focus. She stretched theatrically, did 2 lunges with no weights, then got on the treadmill, still watching me. And then, right on cue, Qley walked in. Ponytail a mess. Tank top loose, cheeks flushed from the run over. She spotted me and smiled wide. You again. If I start seeing you more than my own family, we might need to schedule a performance review. I chuckled. I'm not great with HR forms. She grabbed her bottle, started filling it next to me. Fair warning, I'm on no sleep and high caffeine. I may say something deeply unwise. Long night. Midnight shift, she said. I help run a crisis line 2 nights a week. It's a mess and I love it. I shook my head. Now you're showing off. That made her laugh again. And just as she nudged me lightly with her elbow, I heard it. Madison's voice, sharp, loud. Wow, she said, approaching from the side. Is this how the gym works now? Elbow touching and cutesy shifts? Or are you both just role-playing a bad Hallmark movie? Qley blinked. Excuse me. I turned fully. Madison, no. I'm serious, she said, eyes burning. Do you always flirt with married men mid-squat? Or is this a special occasion? The water bottle in Qley's hand froze mid-fill. I didn't realize conversation was now a crime. Madison laughed without humor. Oh, honey, you don't know what you're stepping into. Qley held up both hands, backing off. Look, I don't want drama. You were just flirting, Madison snapped. Touching his arm, laughing like some desperate, Madison. I cut in, voice low but firm. That's enough. Her head whipped toward me. You're defending her? I'm stopping you, I said. Because whatever this is, it's beneath you. She stared at me, breath short. You think I'm just going to stand here and let this girl crawl all over you? Nobody was crawling, I said. You're creating a scene. In public. And it's embarrassing for you. The people near us had gone silent. Even the clanking of plates seemed to pause. Qley stepped back. I'll go, she muttered. Sorry. She left quickly, disappearing into the back hallway. I turned back to Madison. You had no reason to come here. You don't even go to this gym. She folded her arms. I had a feeling. No. You had a need to control, I said, quieter now. And that's not going to work anymore. Her jaw clenched. So I'm just supposed to watch you flirt with other women? You're supposed to trust me, I said. The way I used to trust you when you went out late. When you came home with lipstick on your collarbone from hugging everyone you met. She stepped back slightly, eyes narrowing. This isn't about me. No, I said, stepping closer. It's about the fact that you don't like what you're seeing, because it reminds you of what you stopped giving. Attention, lightness, respect. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. For a beat, we stood in the middle of the gym. Two people who used to be a team, now circling each other like strangers. I grabbed my towel and water. You should go, Madison. Her voice cracked. You're choosing her over me? I turned back. No, I'm choosing me. And then I walked away. Eyes followed. Whispers trailed. But none of it mattered. Because for the first time in a long time, I wasn't the one who lost his footing. The silence in the car was thick. I hadn't even turned the engine on yet. We were still parked just outside the gym, the windshield fogged slightly from our breath and tension. Madison sat in the passenger seat, arms folded so tightly across her chest, it looked like she was trying to hold herself together. I gripped the wheel, then exhaled slowly. Madison, I said, voice low. You can't do that again. That was out of line. She let out a bitter laugh and turned her face toward the window. Out of line? You mean watching my husband joke around with some clingy redhead like they're the stars of a rom-com? She's not clingy, I said carefully. She was being friendly. That's all. Madison whipped around, her eyes sharp. You didn't stop her, though. You let her touch you. You leaned in like you couldn't get enough. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't snap. I just sat back in my seat and looked at her. Madison, what is this really about? She blinked hard, lips tight. This is about you thinking it's okay to humiliate me. You showed up to my gym unannounced. You started a fight. You embarrassed yourself, not me. Oh, I embarrassed myself? She snapped. You didn't even deny it. You stood there defending her. I was trying to stop you from yelling in a room full of strangers, I said. And from turning your jealousy into a circus act. Madison looked away again, jaw clenched. You made me feel replaceable. Her voice cracked slightly on that word. I sat with that for a second. I didn't try to replace you. I tried to be heard. And when that didn't work, I tried to be respected. She didn't answer. I turned the key. The engine hummed to life. Madison, I'm not the enemy here. She shook her head slowly, her voice suddenly cold. You've changed. I nodded. Yeah, I have. You weren't like this before. No, I said. Before I bent. I stayed quiet. I made myself smaller to keep the peace. Her eyes stayed fixed on the passing trees outside the window as I pulled out of the parking lot. I waited. But she didn't look at me. Didn't ask a question. Didn't offer anything. So I tried one more time. I'm still here, I said gently. But if we keep living like we're on opposite teams, I won't be for long. Her lips pressed into a thin line. Maybe that's what you want. No, I said quietly. But it might be what I need. She didn't speak for the rest of the drive. And I stopped expecting her to. The house was silent by 10. Madison had gone straight to the bedroom after dinner. No words, no eye contact. Not even the passive-aggressive clang of dishes that used to follow our fights. Just silence. The kind that says, if I ignore you long enough, maybe you'll come crawling. I didn't. I sat alone in the den, half slouched in the old leather armchair I'd had since college, a drink sweating in my hand. The soft hum of the refrigerator down the hall was the only sound. Everything else was still. On the shelf across from me was a photo. Our wedding day. I hadn't really looked at it in a long time. It sat there in its rustic wooden frame, dusty, mostly ignored. But tonight I reached for it, pulled it into my lap, and stared. We looked so damn young. Carefree. She was barefoot in the picture, holding her heels in one hand, laughing with her whole body. And I looked proud. Like I believed I'd won something rare. For a while, I think I had. But as I studied that photo, I kept asking the same question over and over again. Where did she go? Or worse, Was that version of her ever real? Lately, being with Madison felt like playing chess against someone who didn't want to win the game. She just wanted to keep me cornered. Every word was a test, every silence a trap. And I was tired. I didn't want to live like this anymore. I didn't want to walk on eggshells in my own damn house. I didn't want to second guess whether kindness from her came with strings attached. Because that's what it had become. A cold war made of polite sarcasm and calculated smiles. And if I was being honest, we hadn't touched each other, really touched each other, in weeks. No laughter in the kitchen. No shared jokes in the grocery store. No late-night talks. Just silence. And suspicion. Upstairs, the faint sound of drawers opening and closing broke the stillness. She was still awake. Probably looking through receipts or messages or God knows what, trying to catch me in something that would justify the anger she'd been stoking for weeks. She didn't act like a wife anymore. She acted like a detective. And I'd become the suspect in a crime I didn't commit. I leaned back and stared at the ceiling. How did we get here? How did the woman I once promised to protect turn into someone I had to defend myself from? I thought about Qley, but not in a romantic way. I thought about how easy it felt to be seen by someone without feeling. Scanned. With her, I didn't need to prove anything. I could just exist. But even that didn't matter now. This wasn't about another woman. This was about the man I'd become by staying in something that kept shrinking me. I looked back down at the wedding photo. Madison's eyes, mid-laugh, frozen in time. I placed the frame face down on the coffee table. And that's when I knew. I wasn't waiting for her to change anymore. I wasn't hoping for a breakthrough. I was done asking for space in my own life. I stood, quietly, and walked toward the stairs. Each step felt heavier than the last, but also clearer. Like I was moving toward something, not away from it. Clarity. That's what this was. Not rage. Not revenge. Just clarity. And resolve. Upstairs, the bedroom door was shut. I didn't open it. I walked past it. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel guilty for choosing peace over proximity. The sun hadn't been up for long. Just a faint golden streak slicing across the bedroom floor through the half-closed blinds. It was quiet. Peaceful. In that deceptive way a moment can be right before it ruptures. I stood at the foot of the bed, suitcase open on the bench. Neat stacks of clothes. One pair of dress shoes. My old flannel rolled up tight next to the shaving kit. I zipped it slowly, like the sound of it closing might actually prepare me for what came next. Behind me, the bed shifted. Madison stirred, her breath catching as she rolled over. I didn't look at her. I didn't have to. I could feel it. The instant recognition. The stillness of sleep was gone. The panic was blooming. "Tyler," she croaked, voice thick with sleep. What are you doing?" I pulled the zipper the last inch, then looked at her. She was sitting up now, tangled in the covers, mascara smudged from the night before, hair messy, and eyes wide with something I hadn't seen in a long time. Fear. "I'm leaving," I said. Her face froze. "Wait. No. Wait, what? What do you mean you're leaving?" I picked up the suitcase and placed it by the door, then turned to face her. "I mean I can't stay here anymore, Madison." She threw the blanket off and stood, barefoot on the cold hardwood floor. "You're serious? Just like that? You're packing a bag and walking out without even talking to me?" "I've been talking," I said softly. "For a long time. You just stopped listening." No, she said quickly, voice rising. "This is insane. You're overreacting. We can fix this." "I'm not angry," I said. "I'm tired. And I'm done waiting for a version of you that doesn't need to win every argument to feel loved." Her eyes shimmered, and her lip trembled. "You don't mean that. You're hurt. Because of what happened at the gym. That girl, this isn't about Qley," I said, my voice cutting through her excuse like a blade. "This is about us. About how I've spent years trying to be the version of myself you'd stop correcting. I'm done living under a microscope. I don't want a marriage that feels like a trial." Madison's hands flew to her mouth. "Tyler, please. Please, don't do this. I didn't know it got this bad. That's the part that hurts the most," I said. "You didn't notice." She rushed toward me, grabbing my arm. "We can go to therapy. We can talk." "We can, Madison," I said gently, pulling away. "We've talked. But it was never a conversation. It was you setting the terms and me trying to keep up." She was sobbing now, loud, broken sobs that filled the room like the cry of someone who had just realized too late what she stood to lose. "I thought we were okay," she whispered, shaking. "I thought this was just a rough patch." I sat on the edge of the bed, staring down at my hands. This isn't a patch. This is a pattern, and I can't keep living like this. She collapsed beside me, grabbing my hand, holding it with both of hers like it was a rope, and she was slipping. I'm sorry, she cried. Tyler, I swear, I didn't mean to make you feel small. I didn't know. I didn't know you felt this alone. I looked at her then, really looked at her, and for a second, I saw the woman I married. Not the one I fought with. Not the one who held her love like leverage. But the girl who once laughed barefoot in a field behind a tiny wedding chapel, wine-stained dress, and wind in her hair. But I also saw something else. I saw who I'd become around her, measured, quiet, careful, and I knew I couldn't go back to that. I love you, she said through sobs. Please don't go. I stood slowly. I loved you too, I replied. But love isn't supposed to feel like survival. She covered her face and broke into louder sobs, crumbling onto the bed like her bones couldn't hold the weight of this moment. I picked up my suitcase, then stopped. For a moment, I just stood there, watching her. And what I saw wasn't a manipulator or a woman playing a game. It was my wife, broken open, finally seeing me. I placed the suitcase down. She looked up, breath caught. What are you doing? I'm staying, I said quietly. Not because it's easy, but because I believe this version of you, right now, is real. And I forgive you. Her face crumpled with disbelief and relief. And in that still, raw moment, we both knew this was the first honest beginning we'd had in a long time. The gym looked exactly the same. Same fluorescent lights humming overhead. Same rhythm of treadmills, weights clanking, music thumping low from the speakers. But this time, I wasn't walking in alone. Madison was beside me. Neither of us spoke much on the drive. There was a quiet between us, but it wasn't the icy distance from before. It was tentative, like we were walking across a frozen lake, both aware of how thin it still might be. She had on plain black leggings, no dramatic entrance, no war paint. Just a ponytail and a hesitant glance my way as we walked past the front desk. I feel like people are staring, she muttered under her breath. They're not, I said. And if they are, it doesn't matter. We moved toward the stretching area. I laid my towel down, and she mirrored me. Small steps, I thought. This wasn't forgiveness or closure, it was something in between. Then I saw Qley. She was walking over, water bottle in hand, smile just as easy as always. Hey, stranger, she said, stopping a few feet away. Long time no see. I stood and met her halfway, a calm smile on my face. Hey, Qley. Madison stood up too. Close now. Too close to pretend she wasn't involved. I didn't hesitate. I gently placed my arm around her waist. Qley noticed. She didn't flinch, didn't change her tone. But something flickered in her eyes, understanding. Good to see you both, she said, then leaned slightly toward Madison. Her voice dropped to a whisper, just for her. You nearly lost a good man, Qley said softly. But it's not too late. Madison didn't respond. She just blinked, lips parted, stunned by the honesty. Qley smiled again, gave me a nod, and walked off toward the treadmills. Madison stood quiet for a long second, her arms wrapped around herself as if bracing against something invisible. She's blunt, she finally said. She's not wrong, I replied. And to my surprise, Madison nodded. Not defensively, not bitterly, just nodded. We didn't say anything else. But as we started our warm-up side by side, for the first time in a long time, we weren't fighting the same war. We were standing in the same room. The kitchen was warm with the smell of roasted garlic and something baking in the oven, her doing. Madison had insisted on cooking dinner. No takeout, no leftovers. She didn't say why. She didn't have to. I was leaning against the counter, sipping water, when I felt her arms circle around my waist from behind. She pressed her cheek between my shoulder blades and whispered. She told me, I nearly lost you. I set the glass down and turned slowly. Her eyes met mine, quiet, steady, clear in a way they hadn't been in weeks. She's right, Madison said, voice soft. I almost did. I didn't rush to respond. I just studied her, trying to tell if this was another play, another performance. But it wasn't. She stepped closer. And not just Qley. People notice you, Tyler. More than I realized. More than I wanted to admit. You're not invisible, even if I made you feel that way. I gave a quiet laugh through my nose. Took you long enough. That made her smile. A real one, tired but true. I forgot how to love you without measuring everything, she said. And you forgot what it feels like to be loved with both hands. I pulled her in then, lifting her slightly off the ground and holding her like something that could still be repaired. And for once, she didn't pull away. Later, we sat at the table, plates untouched, and we talked. Really talked. No defenses. No accusations. Just two people sitting across from each other, trying to figure out how they'd lost the thread and whether it was still worth weaving again. And that was the end of my story. When Qley whispered those words to Madison, that she'd nearly lost me, something in my wife shifted. Maybe that moment mattered more than I realized. So let me ask you, was Qley right to speak up, or was it stepping into something that wasn't hers to touch? Let me know in the comments. And if this story hit something real for you, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. I've got more to share.